Howdy, it's Tubalcain again, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install a hammer handle on a brass hammer, or this would be applicable to, of course, to any type of hammer, but I happen to have 4 brass hammer heads here that have never been used, and not that I need any more hammers, brass hammers. I got a whole slew of them here, but I guess I'm like Tom Lipton, I just can't have enough of them. And I got more out in the garage too, I think. Now I got these in different sizes. This is a 3-ounce, and this, although it's not marked, I believe is a 5-pounder. Almost like a sledge. But notice that when I say brass hammer, that some are yellow brass and some are probably bronze. You know, there's 100 shades of gray, well there's 100 shades of brass and copper alloys. And in some cases here, these particular hammers are copper hammers, but they all serve the same purpose as a rather heavy hammer that does not mark the work. I bought these 4 hammerheads at an auction several years back. I think it was $5 for the whole batch, and I saved them from the scrap man, because there's always guys at an auction that are looking for brass and copper just to scrap. But I bought these anyway for scrap price, or maybe a little above. And they're all marked on one side Duro, and then on the other side the weight of them. And I say brass, but they're probably bronze. So this one's a 1/2 pound, 1 pound, 1.5, and 3 pounds, and they all have an eye in them and some cobwebs. And I believe that the eye in the smaller one is a little bit too small and probably needs to be opened up. But I need to get some handles. You know, I've told you many times that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And why do I say that? Because I've got a whole box full of hammer handles that I've never put on anything, and I've thrown most of the old hammer heads away, but at every auction you're going to find a box that has 3, 4, 5 hammer heads that are with broken off handles, and then some other place on the auction wagon you're going to find hammer handles that were never installed, and now the former owner is taking a dirt nap. I'm sure glad I don't have to go downtown and buy a hammer handle, because now the handles cost more than a hammer. So, but you can see that some of these have been around so long. That one's a 50 center. Now that's for a claw hammer, so you have to make sure you find the right kind of hickory, and it should be made of hickory, handle that is suitable for a machinist type hammer rather than a claw hammer. And you're going to see that these are more square here. I think they call the eye in a claw hammer an adze eye. But I have plenty of these, but this is not what you want. You want this type. That one's old enough to where it's $1.69. I don't think you can buy it for that anymore. But I have attempted to pair the appropriate size hammer handle with the hammerhead, and I think I've been fairly successful, except for this one. I probably would like to have one just a little smaller for this. Now I could cut this off a bit, but to me that ruins the proportion. Now when you buy a hammer handle, you're always going to have to whittle it down so it fits the eye of the head. And I'm going to arbitrarily select this one. I'm not going to do them all on camera, but I'm going to do the 1-pounder on camera. And you can watch how I do this. Now you're going to also need wedges. I'll lay that one aside because that's the one I'm going to do. You need wedges, and often the wedges are going to be taped onto the handle. Matter of fact, I think most of the time, but I don't know what happened to that one. But I do have in stock a nice selection of metal wedges, and only one of the wooden ones. You need both a wood and a metal one in most cases. Now for the smaller one I might get away just with this, but that allows you to expand the end of the handle in 2 directions by putting first the wooden one in, has to be reduced in size, and secondly the appropriate size metal wedge, usually at an angle. and that spreads it in the other direction. And you can buy these at any hardware store as well. And as far as these, if you don't have one, just cut a little wedge on the bandsaw out of some hardwood. I would use maple. The placement of the hammerhead on the handle is important in my eyes. We call this the shoulder, this wide part here. So looking at a couple here that were commercially installed, you can see that the head is fairly close to the shoulder. Not all the way there, but same thing here. Maybe they went a little bit too far, but that's a matter of personal opinion, of course, too. But looking at it like this, I've seen amateurs, I guess I'm an amateur too, put them on like this, and you've got a weak spot there, and it doesn't look as good. So you want to be about in that position. Now that's not the head that I'm going to install, so let's look at the other one here. And I've made a mark about how far down I want that to be installed, something like that. And there's always a little extra left at the top. That's good, because that'll be sawed off. Now, how are you going to whittle that down? Well, there's several ways. It can be done with just on the belt sander, but you can take it off pretty fast that way. I like to use a wood rasp. And just take it down until it fits the eye. If you have a lot to remove, you can also take it over on the bandsaw, just cut a sliver off, but there isn't a whole lot that needs to be removed from this handle. But taking a rasp, you can just do it on the workbench if there isn't very much. And boy, that is hard wood. Take a little bit off the corners like that. And then keep trying it for a fit before you take off too much. So I'll just round those corners. Nope, quite a bit to take off yet, so I need to take a little bit off right here. Boy, this rasp is much sharper right here where it didn't get used much, as opposed to down in this area. Not quite. I'll do a little bit off camera. You know what? It just dawned on me that I was using the term rasp incorrectly. In fact, a rasp differs from a file in that the teeth are individually formed and are much coarser. And the same as a voice can be raspy. As a matter of fact, my voice is kind of raspy today in itself. It's coarse. I don't know what's in my throat. But the file that I was using actually is just a coarse double cut file. A bastard cut. Rasp file. Sorry about that. Now I'm going to get a little more aggressive, and I've put the handle into the vise, but notice that I've used protective jaws. You don't want vise marks on the handle because it's unsightly and it's going to rough it up where you're actually going to be holding the hammer. But with it in the vise now, I can get a longer stroke. Do the same thing on the other side, trying to keep it even. Okay, it's starting. Once the head is started onto the handle a little bit, and I'm not in there very far, I like to take it and wrap it a couple times like this. And then it's going to scuff the area that is too large. Can you see the burrs right there? So that'll indicate where you need to take off more material. Now I'll take the head off, and I might have to tap it to get it off with another mallet. I prefer to do this to get the handle down, or the head down on the handle. Others prefer just the opposite, and that is to strike this end of the hammer handle with a mallet of some kind. And of course it's doing the exact same thing, and inertia is your friend. Now that it's separated, you can see the scuffing and where I need to file a little bit more. I'm almost there. I'm going to take it off one more time and take those burrs off where it's scuffed, and then it will come down to the line. And notice that from this view it's centered quite well. Now we need to have a little bit of wood there that can expand, and there isn't a whole lot endwise, so I think I'll take a little more off that so I'm able to drive the wedge in. You don't want it so tight that the wedge will not enter, or that you have to hit it so hard that it will start to splinter down here someplace. Also, for appearance sake, I don't know, it just bugs the heck out of me when somebody's put a handle on and they've got the trademark on upside down. So take care to get that right. You won't make that mistake with a claw hammer, but you can with other kinds of hammers. Let's see how she looks. About down to the line. Boy, a lot of imperfections in that casting. Maybe this was a reject. It won't matter one bit for what I'm doing. This is ready to go. I'm going to take it over to the saw and just remove a little bit of that, right about where the knife edge is. And I already took some maple and I made myself a couple of wedges. I cut them to the right width. Long and tapered, longer than I need, because remember it's going to be cut off. So let me take just a little bit off right there. And then I'm going to take some beeswax here. 77 cents, that must have been around for a while. And wax that up a little. Now I don't know, somebody told me to do this years ago, how much that helps, but I guess it couldn't hurt. Be right back. Okay, I cut a little bit off. Now I'm going to put the wedge in there. If it'll start. I'll set it right here and drive it home. Now I'm ready for the other one. Now I'm going to put it crossways, and I'm going to use, well, I've got several of them here. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to put it crossways like this. And I will take my Sloyd knife and wrap it with the another brass hammer just to start it. Take a look at that. Now it's ready to drive home. Now if you want to drive it just a little deeper, take a piece of scrap material like this 1/8 inch stock and hitting it right here, it'll go in till you're pretty much flush, although it may not go in all the way, and don't force it if it isn't necessary, because if there's no room for the material to expand, you don't want to go in any farther. There it is, both wedges driven home. Now I'm going to take it over to the big belt sander and I'm going to sand that down. Now you could file it or do it any other way, but don't put it on the wood cutting bandsaw with that steel wedge in there, but you could do it on on a metal cutting saw, depending on how much you have sticking out. I've got so very little, I'm just going to do it on the belt sander. And there it is, the job's done. And it looks something like that. We got a little burning right here from the belt, but that doesn't hurt a thing. I did touch the belt sander onto the brass just a little bit. I was going to avoid that, but I guess it doesn't matter. Now if you've got any little burrs or anything here, take your Sloyd knife or your pocket knife and you can easily remove them. Almost like you're whittling. I suppose I could have come down just a little farther on the shoulder here, but overall I think the appearance is good. More or less what it would look like from the factory. No big gaps here. You don't want to see gaps around there where it did not fill the eye of the hammerhead. So there it is. Give it a try yourself. I'm sure you got a bunch of them in your junk box that need to be rehandled. Well, I've got 3 more to go. 1 down. And hope you enjoyed this video. This is Tubalcain saying so long for now.